Okay, had to move. So, get out of here, blanket. I had to move my tripod and camera over to this little corner so that it could charge. So yeah, not explaining anything else. Go watch the last fucking 3 videos to understand anything of what's going on in this one. I'm getting a bit more tired, but talking about my fears and worries and insecurities. So last video talked about fear of vomiting, fear of death, scariest experience I had in my life this summer up in this area, and so what next? I'm afraid of being manipulated, I think. Well, I think that's reasonable to say for many people. I'm afraid of being used and just thrown to the side. Wouldn't necessarily, not saying, because like, I talked in one of the last videos about how I felt very alienated this summer alienated and isolated from a lot of relatives who came up to this cottage. But I wasn't afraid of that. It was just very depressing. But I'm afraid of being taken advantage of and just being used and lied to, basically. Now, of course, there are times where people feel they have to. In certain social situations, people lie literally just if they don't want to continue a conversation or if they're afraid. That's, well, pertaining to this. That relates to regrets I have, which I'll get into a bit. I already talked about one of my major regrets. Yeah, I'm afraid of manipulation, probably because I have been manipulated multiple times when I was living with people in my household over the course of many years. Between one who has severe histrionic personality disorder, hefty egotistical traits, potentially egotistical personality disorder, I don't know at this point, bipolar disorder. It all stems, at least it seems from me, from my perspective and what it looks like from, well, not being taken seriously in their past. It damaged their self-esteem to a great extent. Someone they used to love was very abusive to them, verbally and physically. Well, not physically to them, but they would throw objects. And also someone who was just had more traits of an intellectual complex, was arrogant, ageist as well, very ageist. Oh yes, I wanted to talk about that as well. So here's something that I want to address quick, relating to, I guess, fears of being manipulated, is the growing thing I'm seeing of subtle ageist behavior, or at the very least, just full up blatant ageism. Like I've said, I firmly believe that mental maturity varies greatly amongst people. Mental, not physical maturity, cognitive, intellectual maturity. It greatly varies amongst people, and I also pretty well firmly believe, because the theory has basically almost been proven, that our brains technically do not ever stop developing. I genuinely do not. Yes, most of the primary development of our brains happens in the age range that I am now, like say, in adolescence, which has been usually documented from from birth to around, now it's estimated for adolescents to be 24, or between the ages of 20 and 24, around there. But there is growing evidence, and it's very prominent now, that the brain, like capacity for intellectual understanding and concept, or just development of learning new skills and just concepts of things in general, it takes up neural space, and neurogenesis has been proven to be a thing. It can happen, and also, the brain can regenerate even in the smallest capacity. It can't happen on a major, massive scale, but we know it can happen in small amounts, which there are small experimental treatments for neurogenesis in, say, degenerative diseases and disorders, say, like MS or progressive supranuclear palsy, or dementia, obviously. But anyway, for things like that, but in general, we know neurogenesis can happen in small amounts. That contributes to rebirth of neurons as well. So it's seemingly becoming more apparent that our brains never actually stop developing. Yes, the primary stages of our development do take place during childhood and teenhood, but it still continues to grow and develop as we age, and learning different skills, and also just acquiring more knowledge, which is, there needs to be neural space for that to be taken in. It's not like our abilities and skills and like what we are cognitively able to understand, and also what we are physically able to do and learn to and adapt to, just automatically stop. They don't stop at really any age. There are people who have defied what has been known of their ages in terms of what they're intellectually able to do, and in some regards, like what their skills they're able to obtain. So I firmly believe that our brains do not stop developing ever. But what I want to bring up as well is regarding to manipulation, psychological manipulation, is that there are many adults, unfortunately, in this world who use the whole, you're a child, you have not had as much experience on this planet, your brain isn't even developed yet, we're older so we know better excuse, not even excuse, pretty lie, as a form of manipulation towards children. That has been used in a multitude of scenarios. I think it is disgusting and horrible, but it's a sad truth of what happens. And it... Hold on a second. Oh no, that's fine. Okay. There are adults who will use that as a manipulative tactic. And it's bullshit. Here, let me give you an example, actually. I'm going to use someone. Who am I going to use? Who's a child genius. Let's see. Okay, no, you know what? Let me make up an example. Let's say there's a child who is incredibly intelligent in terms of social concepts, the ideas of how societies around them function, are very skilled at, say, mathematics, very heavily versed in critical thinking for themselves, are very aware of the people around them and what they do. They're very skilled in, let's pick the field of, what am I going to pick? Architecture. Let's say they're very good at architecture. They have a very passionate fascination with architecture, and they want to become an architect. They study it in their free time. And they could tell an actual full-blown someone in the profession of architectural work basically how to do their jobs at the young age. Now, let me ask you, is that person, that child, less intelligent than, say, for those of you who agree with this stance, is that child less intelligent than, say, someone like fucking Donald Trump or Justin Trudeau or Adolf Hitler or fucking Kim Jong-un? Didn't think so. Someone of that caliber has gained far better wisdom than adults like that, or someone, say, like fucking Jeff Bezos or Elon environmentalist not Musk, or fucking Bill Gates. That child is more intelligent than people like that. And also, by the way, this is not like a self-insert, because I'm horrible at math, and I don't have any passion, particularly for a career, at least in archaeology. Fucking archaeology. Architecture. Anyway. So, I firmly want to say this to any children and teenagers. Cannot talk. Children and teenagers who are watching this, who have been gaslit, baselessly guilt-tripped, strawman arguments, who've just been manipulated. Do not ever trust the saying, "I'm an adult, I know better." It is one of the biggest lies that have been spread throughout societies across this globe. It's been embedded in so many cultures that adults know better. Most adults, actually, one of my new favorite YouTubers, who I just found, an animator who's more popular now than when they were back when I had actually initially heard of them years ago, called Sugar. I genuinely really love her content. She made an amazing point on it was about her battles with depression, as well as possibly developing, it seemed like, a schizoid personality disorder for a while as a childhood, actively pushing people away from forming lasting relationships because of traumatic events. She basically said that, in her belief, that most adults in the world are just as naive as kids, if not more. And I firmly believe that. Even with my skewed sense of morality and logic and our existence and human nature, it's very apparent at the very least, and this isn't like it's not a solution to any of those issues I just brought up. But it's very apparent that so many adults pretend to actually have things figured out. They don't. They do not. And this is another reason I don't like, and I'm not blaming anyone who does this, but I find it in many regards really annoying and demeaning to children's intelligence when people talk to them in that baby voice. Like they'll, oh, it's so cute, look at you, you're moving around like that, you want your toy, that is really demeaning in my opinion. Really fucking demeaning. Now, I'm not saying obviously you're not a bad parent for doing that. I don't think it's, okay, it can be very demeaning, I will say. I don't think absolutely every single time someone does that, it's like a horrible thing that's going to cause trauma to be instilled in the child. But there are parents who literally just do it for every response the child has, even if it's a genuine concern that their developing mind has and a concept that they figured out. Like, say if a child hears something about, what is it? Okay, let's say death, since that related to what I was talking about in the last video. If they hear about the concept of death and they're like, parents, mom, dad, what does death mean? What does it mean? Oh, well, Antha John, Jonna Lena, I'm literally just trying to combine names for no reason. When someone gets a very bad hurt boo-boo, they can stop moving, and sometimes they don't wake up for a very long time, and then we have to send them to the farm to let them nap for a very long time. I hate when fucking people give the most bullshit analogies to children for no fucking reason, because they are afraid that the child will not be able to handle it. It pisses me off to the greatest extent. Maybe it's because I'm tired right now that I'm getting so passionate. Well, I was getting passionate about the other things I was talking about earlier, but it makes me so fucking mad when people flat out lie to children. Now, I'm not saying to I've told myself that if I ever become a parent, I will try to not lie to my child. Again, whole thing about not making promises, anti-prom declaratism, or how I feel about it. I don't make promises, but I will try my damnedest to never lie to my child if I have a child at any point. For whatever reason, I may have like set planned times of their life where I'd like to tell them about it, where I'd like to introduce these concepts to them. But if they come to me first before that time has come with the concern about like that concept, that knowledge, I'm going to have to say, oh, well, fuck that. That plan didn't work. You're learning about it now. Because if you don't, especially in the modern day and age, the child's going to go off and find out about it themselves. All right, they are. They're going to go, there's going to be snoopy little shits, go onto the internet, they're going to find the concept themselves, potentially not learn it well, and internalize something very bad. That could happen, or they could be completely fine, learn the concept well enough on their own without the help or supervision of the adult, but that's not a guarantee. So, if you don't do it, they're going to do it themselves. And I don't want to take that chance as a parent, that potential chance of something going wrong there. I don't blame the people who put this stuff on the internet for that. I blame me not being involved with my child's life more for that. But anyway, I fucking hate it when they don't, and again, I'm not saying go into gory detail about a concept like concepts like death, sexuality, workplace struggles, economic disparity, ethnic disparity, political disputes of the world, mass murder. I'm not saying going to the goriest of I'm not saying going to the goriest of detail, but lay the foundations of those concepts and don't use the most idiotic, non-related bullshit analogies. Like, I'm so, especially in sex education, it is horrible. I hate it so much. Anyway. So for any kids out there, I firmly believe this, relating to ageism. They say that there are people who claim that with experience comes wisdom. No, it fucking doesn't. Not at all. I firmly believe this as well. Even with everything else I'm saying, I genuinely know and critically feel, I logically feel, again, even with my skewed sense of everything else, one thing in belief I still genuinely, firmly hold is that, and this isn't going to fully help, well, may help me in some sense, but whatever, Cam, just stay on topic. I firmly believe, at least right now, that with experience does not come wisdom. Just because you go through a experience does not mean you're going to have any sort of intellectual knowledge to how to properly deal with that. There are people who go through so many traumatic experiences, internalize that trauma, and then it turns into a chaotic monster inside of their psychological state. It disrupts them in so many ways. They did not take that experience well. They did not gain well enough what I would consider beneficial wisdom from that to get past that. So I firmly believe that with experience does not come wisdom. With understanding and intellectual critical thinking comes wisdom. Examining your experience and what happened to you comes wisdom. Just because you experienced it, though, does not mean you're going to have intellectual insight into it. And the same goes for with age. They say age comes wisdom. No, it fucking does not. Again, with critical reasoning and understanding comes wisdom. Not merely just, oh, I survived for another year. I aged one more year. Guess I'm somehow smarter, even though I literally I sat on my fucking ass for a whole year, didn't bother to learn anything, didn't bother to actually talk to people and learn about different experiences. In fact, I'm probably possibly got even more terrible experiences just sitting around doing nothing this whole year. But yeah, no, I'm smarter now. I'm smarter because I am 1 year older. It's a load of crap. So, any kids watching this, any teenagers watching this, young adults, do not let full-blown adults convince you that you are dumb because of your age. Yeah, there are things you don't know, or depending on who you are, there will be things that you don't know. There are fucking things that adults don't know at 94. Like, you are constantly learning, growing and discovering new things. And that does not, even the whole, the development of our neurocortexes in our brains, and our fucking neurological state takes place primarily, yes, in youth, but discovering things isn't limited to your youth. It's not. So, what I'm saying is, don't let them use that as a manipulative tactic. Because that excuse has been used on me so often that I'm older, I know best. I'm older, I know best, said the priest who's about to sexually molest a altar boy. Okay, again, not self-projecting there. That was just me. I was trying to be clever with my wording of like the example I was giving of the myth that adults know best. So, or what's another example? Said I'm the adult, I know best. Said the fucking parents putting a golf ball on their child's nose and then getting ready to tee up for. Okay, yeah, that one, none of that worked. That didn't work. Anyway, so I'm gonna lie on my stomach. That was a little rant about relating to my fear of manipulation. Okay, so what else? Well, okay, let's go with this. My histrionic tendencies. I am afraid of being a terrible person to someone else. I'm constantly afraid that I will intentionally or unintentionally hurt someone I care about, someone close to me, or someone who I don't know in a massively detrimental way. I'm petrified of that. I don't like causing disrupt to people's lives if I can help it. I've had to, especially in the last few months, because they were causing disrupt to my life. But I don't like it, and it greatly scares me. And wait, hold on, wait, no, wait, looks like a rabbit ears. Oh, I am dumb. Really dumb. Anyway, sorry, I was just staring off into thought because I am tired. But, I'm afraid of being an asshole to people. I joke around a lot. I make offensive jokes. I make very dark humor jokes to ease the pain of situations or horrible concepts. I don't mean any of it like, well, obviously, yes, if I'm joking about like someone I consider to be a horrible person, I mean what I'm saying, but I mean like making light out of the terrible behavior that they engage in. But I don't like, well, even in that, there's still a comedic element to it. I don't mean all of it sincerely, and if I'm just being a blatant asshole just for the sake of just being the sake of the comedy being that I'm just being completely offensive and saying something completely absurd. In philosophy of absurdism, I I don't mean it sincerely, and all that relates back to my whole moral crisis of, is art worse for people as a whole? But that's another thing I'm afraid of, is hurting others. And that night with the kidnapping was pretty well one of my worst fears come to life, because it caused probably great pain to someone else. Well, to the victim. It's 1:17 in the morning. What am I afraid of? What else? Actually, this will probably tie into everything that's happening right now. I'm afraid of there being no hope, of losing hopefulness. Well, I've already lost a lot of hopefulness, but I'm afraid of losing it completely. I'm afraid of there not being really any true hope left. Afraid of the fact that there might never have ever been hope for things. I'm well, I'm thinking that those are my primary fears. I'm not afraid of disappointing people, at least. Well, yeah, I'm not afraid of disappointing people. I'm afraid of someone's just disappointed in me. I really couldn't care. Logically, at least, I couldn't care. And emotionally, still, I don't care about proving myself to others, despite the histrionic tendencies and the perfectionism. That's more of my own self looking at my art and things I create and never being satisfied. Because I guess I don't think maybe it's worthy of it. Maybe. I don't know. My back is sore. Okay, I'm lying like this. I'm gonna see that. That'll work. What else am I... Oh, okay. Moving on from fears. What am I insecure about? Let's go with that. I'm insecure about the way I talk. Not like how I word things. More so, I'm literally well, not afraid. I literally just don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't like how my voice sounds. Well, actually, no, it kind of does relate in some way to the way that I actually like articulate myself. I'm never, especially with these videos, I never am satisfied, it seems, with the way I try to get my concepts, like try to get my ideas across. It always sounds like it comes out wrong. It's never what I'm entirely thinking. Obviously, it's a large portion of it, but it's never. I guess this relates to the perfectionist in me as well. It never comes out the way I want it to. I always feel like that the way I explain it is wrong, and it's not getting people to understand what I'm saying in the way I envisioned it. And it's not even like I actually envision scenarios when I'm just imagining by myself about, well, just things that could happen in a conversation. I imagine scenarios where people don't agree with me or heavily disagree with me. But even then, I still am able to articulate myself, and it doesn't even mean, even in my own fantasies, I don't like. There are times where people don't. Just the argument ends with people not agreeing with me, and because that's realistic. But even with that, I'm still in my mind able to articulate the way I want to. But I'm just never. Never can. So I hate the sound of my own voice. Also, I think it sounds really, like I said, I think it sounds really just whiny. I really think my voice just sounds really whiny. It's really shrivel. But, and obviously, this is not, it's not something I particularly care about. It's just it's just an insecurity that I have. Like, I don't care. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what I say is what I'm trying to say. I care about what I'm trying to say. I don't care how my voice sounds while saying it. I'm going to say it. It's just, well, it's something in the back of my mind. I don't like my voice. What's another insecurity? I'm trying to think. Insecurity. I'm insecure, I guess, with my abilities on certain things. That's not relating to like my intelligence or anything like that. I'm insecure about for things that I'm actually very good at. I'm very self-deprecating, I guess I'll say, with many things. Or at least I'm, to an extent, self-deprecating on quite a few things that I guess I really am quite good at, or at least other people tell me I'm good at. And I'm just like, no, I'm really not. And or at least I think I'm not. Maybe I am, but it's just, again, what I'm thinking that I'm not. God, do I really have... Why can I not think of like a whole bunch... Well, I mean, I don't need to have a whole bunch of insecurities. It'd be great if I didn't. It's just obviously everyone on this planet has insecurities. even if it's just one, and even if it's incredibly just minor, like in the smallest amount, it takes up the smallest amount of emotional drain. They still have it in some regard. So I guess in terms of insecurities, maybe I don't have that many. I have, like I mentioned, I have at least a well amount of fears. Hell, it's all what makes people human. It makes me human, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm being very sarcastic tonight, because I'm tired. That's what my, brain structure wants to do. But, okay, it's probably not a lot of time left on the recording. Yeah, not, maybe like 20 more minutes. I'll quickly go over why I left my landscaping job up here. So basically, I've been getting along well enough, as I mentioned, with the team, the crew that I've been working with. And I still think that most of my coworkers, the employees who were there, were very good people. They were very nice. What I'm saying next, if you're watching this, other coworkers other than the two employers, it has nothing to do with you for the most part. I would have liked if you actually did step up and step in. Well, I'm one to talk because I didn't step in for something. Well, anyway, it's not primarily about you in pretty well any regard. So, but my gripes came with the two employers. I'm not saying names. I'm not saying like any of that. They were the owners of the company. They were fine enough at first. I picked up on certain traits that they had, personality-wise, and I thought, well, it was fine enough. Then it got out of hand. They proved to be very egotistical, quite arrogant at points, and very, very dismissive. Very dismissive. To a point where all of it started affecting how I worked with the rest of the team. So, literally, here's an example. Second week there, we're working on the islands around here. They have a barge that goes around this lake constantly. I was working with them on different islands. I'm a very small person, and I was doing the best that I could to lift as much as possible, which I fucking did, by the way. I will give myself credit for that. I fucking did. Like, I pulled my goddamn weight. Just because I'm not able to move as much as the other guys who are jacked, for the most part, I still pulled my fucking weight. Anyway, one of the employers would tell me these things. A, just pick up something and go. Keep moving, keep doing hard work. Just constantly be active. Find something to do. If you don't know what you're doing, come to us. Then, when I actually would do something, moving hard lumber, large pieces of fallen down tree and log in just marsh-filled brush from a major storm we had up here before I actually arrived up here. Like, I came up at like the tail end of the storm, which did havoc on the entire county area. When I would do that, and I couldn't do it well enough by their standards, I guess, it would then be, Cam, if you don't know what you're doing, just get out of the way. And so I would get out of the way. And then when I'd get out of the way and not do something, it's, Cam, why aren't you doing anything? Then I'd ask them what to do. And at many points, it would just be do something. But then, what really got to me was my last day on the job was we had hauled a bunch of lumber back to the site we had in the village. And we were splitting wood for the day, or I was splitting wood with a coworker. And they left to go to the washroom. I was just standing there waiting for them to get back. Because by this point, I was kind of scared and not wanting to go ask the employers what to do, in fear of getting the response of just, if you don't know what you're doing, get out of the way. Or basically just pissing them off in some way. Because my God, would they just blow everything off in the most devoid tone possible. But anyway, the main employer comes out and they tell me, Cam, you gotta stop standing around. You gotta actually be doing something. If you don't know what you're doing, come to me. I asked them, what should I do? They said, go and move that hose over there. They went back into where they were, little shed. I went and moved the fucking hose. I went, got up, moved the goddamn hose, or what I thought was the hose. I went and did it. Then, when I saw my partner was coming back to help me with the fucking splitter, which I didn't know how to work, mind you. No one ever fucking showed me other than that guy how to work it. First day doing it, didn't fully learn the concept. They had known as well I had psychosomatic issues, so... Anyway, they start walking back over to me. I go walking back to the spot that I was, because they were coming over that way, to ask them, what should I do next with them? And just so happens at that moment that my dickhead employer has to come out and say, Cam, I thought I just fucking told you not to stand there. And I said, I saw partner coming back here, so I thought, and they said, I don't give a shit what the partner is doing. I gave you clear instructions to go over here and do that. Basically, what ensued is they got right up in my face, basically trying to intimidate me, literally just trying to intimidate me, accused me of stealing from them for just standing there for 3 seconds. Like, you're stealing from me every second that you're standing there. I'm paying you great money. I'm giving you a great opportunity. No, you fucking weren't, by the way. I don't care about the fucking money, how much it is. Yeah, fine, I did make great money working with you, but my God, with how abusive that actually is as an employer to do, I don't give a shit about your great opportunity. And also, I'm the one who decides whether you're giving me a great opportunity or not. So, or at least in my opinion, I would discern that. I didn't think you were, considering how you treated me. If you actually treated me like a fair fucking person on the team, like fairly amongst everyone else, and not played favorites because they also favoritize people, which I will get into in a second, then I would have considered it a great opportunity, potentially. Again, my skewed ideals and morality causes issues with that. But anyway, basically got up in my face, got overly sensitive of the fact that I was basically, I guess, by standing around seemingly insulting their precious company because it's under their name, and they seem to hold a lot of pride and joy in their name, which, God, is that egotistical. But my God... Anyway, got up in my face, didn't let me get a word in edgewise. I just shut up and stared them down. Pretty much cried almost while splitting the rest of the wood. Then when it was time for lunch, I fucked off and went in my golf cart and just ate. And I blew up at the partner who I was working with because I told them, no, I'm tired of the employers treating me like this. They unfortunately took the employer's side somewhat. Then the co-employer, I guess I'll call them, came down and asked me what's the issue. I told them I'm fucking tired of you guys talking to me like this, dismissing everything I ask. Everything I do is apparently a complete fuck up. So stop treating me like this or I'm leaving. And they just said, I'll just fucking send you off our property if you don't want to be here. And I was agreed, fine. So he said, give me the shirt, the uniform I had on that they had given me, gave it to them, drove off, no shirt, just bare ass chest, walked back, got the rest of the stuff that I had to give to them. And it ended fine enough. The last major encounter, I saw the coworkers again, but with the employers, or at least the major employer, the boss, I'll call them. It ended peaceful enough. They just said, I'm sincerely sorry it didn't work out, Cam. I just genuinely hope the best for you, because they knew about my travels here and me going to Ottawa, or attempting to go to Ottawa, and I just said, okay, fine enough. Overall, as people, the employers included, they could be nice enough at times. And I genuinely thought they were very pleasant people during my first week there. And then the two employers showed more of their ugly colors. One of them seemed very insecure about their social position, as they seemed to somewhat be socially intimidated by me. Because when I was actually talking to them about how much they contradicted themselves and dismissed everything that I was trying to tell them, they brought up my journey up here, saying, you think your journey is so important? This whole thing you're on, trying to find yourself or your morals. And I said, I barely mentioned my fucking journey around you people. Literally only when you asked, I was quiet for the most time around all of you. Barely said 2 words about it unless it was brought up in conversation. And if we got into talking about it, yeah, I would tell you about it. It's not like I was yapping about my journey constantly every time we were working. Jesus Christ. Also, they had quite a bit of toxic masculinity to them, and were subtly somewhat sexist and transphobic. And one of the employers was somewhat anti-Semitic, or at least it sounded like they were anti-Semitic. Then again, they could have just been using anti-Semitic slurs, which is, well, in many regards, subtle anti-Semitism. But again, it's their right to say whatever words they want. I at first didn't have much issue with it until it started going on a bit, and I was like, okay, well, this might be actual prejudice. First, I didn't think it was I thought it was just ignorance. I didn't think it was malicious intent, but again, I don't fully know of that, but it just seemed like somewhat subtle anti-Semitism, but was there were quite a large amount of transphobia. But anyway, yeah. So that's why I quit the landscaping job. Before I leave, or on the day I leave, which will be, it's 13th. It'll be exactly a week from now. I'm just gonna probably try and stop by their base of operation just to say one more goodbye, for no hard feelings, and just to wish them luck. I hope they can, if people can really change, if I end up thinking that people can change, well, I hope they do. But I don't know. I'm just going to wish them one more goodbye. Oh, actually, before this footage runs out, I actually want to show something. I was maybe going to do a whole video on this, but I said fuck it, or I was going to maybe include it with this. I've actually, during my whole time up here, I was reading more philosophical literature just to get maybe help with my understanding of things a bit more, and also because of my conversations I had with the bike dealer who gave me Timmy, which I talked about in my Peterborough videos about us getting into bits about Islam and atheism and religion as a whole, me technically becoming an honorary Muslim and all that. I picked up some religious texts because I had for many years actually been interested in reading them and getting a better knowledge of the entirety of the texts and how many of the cultures around it have formed. Like I know about the cultures that formed around it and the religious doctrines, like the basic religious doctrines and how much of the religions function. But I've never fully read, like, I know there are good people in religions that I guess could spin the words of the religion, but they are able to discern something beneficial out of them. And so I want to actually fully read the text to see, and I will show that to you right now, what books I actually picked up during my time up here. Okay, guess I'll set this right here. Right here. So yeah, straight from the public library in the town of Norwood, Ontario. I've been reading some of them on and off. I didn't finish any of them. Hope maybe when I get to Ottawa or Gatineau, I can, if I get there in one piece, I can rent some more and have more time to read them, but I'll just quickly show the ones I got. First, let me start with the ones I actually started reading. Maybe I'll talk about them a bit more in the next video whenever I do one. I got, speaking of Islam, the Quran. Focus, damn it. Got the Quran. Very interesting first half of it. It's mainly an explanation in the first half of, well, how Allah is the superb omnipotent being, or the all divine omnipotent being, and how, well, basically it relays of how the following text will be what is described through the Prophet Muhammad, and, well, speaking from Allah and through him, and how it is text regarded to the will of life and all that. So yeah, very interesting beginning. It was easily the best out of all the religious texts I began reading. Then I got the Kabbalah, a Jewish mystical path. Basically, I didn't know this, that the Kabbalah is actually apparently it's another half of it's a separate part of the religious text in Judaism, which it's also, well, it's another religious text as well as along with the Torah. I couldn't find a copy of the Torah, or like, well, technically, well, the Torah is a scroll, so I actually don't think I'll ever be able to find a copy of the Torah in a public library, but really good so far. It talks about how, well, I can't remember where, I'm tired right now, but it was a really good beginning. I'm gonna have to go fast because okay, going fast because it's gonna run out. Was reading as well. Did not read this one, Conspiracies and Secret Societies, the complete dossier. Would have liked to. It sounded really interesting. I read this one, I Am Not a Number. It's about the Indigenous residential schools. It tells a story of basically, well, if you know about the residential schools, you know what happened. It was a horrifying, it was Canada's version of the Holocaust. I stand by that statement. It was absolutely Canada's version of the Holocaust. Yep, it was an incredible book. Amish Wit and Wisdom. This was really fucking good. Better than I thought it was going to be. Really good, insightful, just quips and basically quotes from philosophical understandings from the Amish religion. Even though, well, there are many great things about the Amish culture, but mostly the religion I think is ridiculous, as usual. The Lost Secret of Death. This is kind of like the agnostic atheist Bible, I guess, from what I've heard, or at least many people hail it as that. Didn't read it. I really wanted to read this one, The Two Sisters and a Story of Mental Illness, Resilience. Didn't get to. Sound really interesting. Were the ones I read. There's an entire book on Islam, how it influenced a lot of the culture of Arabia and Northern Africa. Didn't get to read it. The God Delusion. The God Delusion. Started reading this. Really good, strong opening. Basically, Richard Dawkins didn't want to use the word religion. He thinks that all religion is basically just... What is that flashing? Oh God. thinks all religion is basically a mass psychosis. And then I got... Right out of storage, gonna make this quick. The Holy Bible, revised standard version. Basically, they had to revise. I only got to the introduction, would have liked to read more, but basically it told me that they had to revise it so many times because all the original shit was full of so many plot holes and problematic stuff. Still is. So yeah, have that. The Essence of Buddhism, how you can bring spiritual meaning into your everyday life. Haven't even started reading it. Dangerous Books for Girls, the bad repetition of romance novels explained. Haven't started reading it, unfortunately. And then Toronto, A Story in Stone. Basically, it's talking about how the original architecture of Toronto was built. A lot of it was by stone cobblers and stuff of the sort. Really interesting first few pages of it. Hopefully I can read it again soon. Yeah, bye.